Hey guys, Air here. So, this is something I've wanted to do for a long time, and I'm finally getting around to it. I've been asked to do this by quite a few people I know online, even real life friends, and here it is. So, in this guide, I hope to teach you all the fundamentals you need to know to become a better chopper pilot and build that foundation you need to become an asset to your team. So, let's get to it. So, kicking it off, we're going to talk about how your infantry model interacts with a helicopter. Little things like taking off, landing, seat switching, all that good stuff. To start, we'll do a standard takeoff. Alrighty, and you can see how long that takes. It's an extra second on the ground, and that just means you're going to get SMOT or RPG'd. For the second method, you just switch seats to take off faster. On PC, it's easier. You can just switch to a seat and back, but on console, you have to rotate through all of them. It's still much faster than just waiting for the standard takeoff, but if you're a console player, you may want to consider using a third method. You can enter, exit, and then enter the helicopter for the same effect. It works pretty well. I typically switch between methods depending on the circumstance. The best way to use the exit and enter method is when you're really low to the ground or doing a touching landing to make sure your helicopter doesn't take damage. I'll cover the not taking damage part later in the video. For now though, another way not to take damage is just to land in your skids. No matter how hard you fling the chopper towards the ground, as long as you land on the skids, you'll be good to go. Note that this only works with a little bird. If you do it with a Z11, you'll blow up. Next, we have switching to your passenger seats. This is useful for reps in the sky or using a launcher. One thing to note is that if you spend more than about 2 seconds in your passenger seat, the heli will shut off when you get back in the pilot seat. Same with taking off, you have to cycle through the seats to start it up faster. Here you'll see me go for a SMA on UAV. I go to my passenger seat, launch the SMA, switch back to the pilot seat, and then cycle through the seats again to start up my chopper faster. This will minimize your downtime and prevent you from being an easy target. Next we have unspotting. If you're flying and you either cycle through your seats or jump out and jump back in, you'll become unspotted. This is useful for going behind cover, unspotting yourself, then coming back out of cover for an extra 2 or 3 seconds before the enemy team notices you. This is something you should practice and do regularly in game. Just be careful of randoms in the chopper, they could steal your pilot seat away from you. So you can only shoot SMAs or RPGs out of helicopters. Lock-ons won't work. When you do shoot a rocket, you can go ahead and cycle back into the pilot seat. While you're flying, your rocket will automatically reload. Also note how since I'm shooting and switching back into the pilot seat very quickly, I don't need to cycle through my seats to regain immediate control of the chopper. As long as you shoot your rocket and get back in the pilot seat in less than 2 or 3 seconds, you shouldn't need to cycle. Next, we're going to go over maneuvering the chopper. More specifically, a pathway of training maneuvers you should take in order to increase your heli skills. Every decent pilot should be able to do these consistently. If you can't, practice until you can. The test range or an empty server works great. First, we have a banking turn. So instead of like a sweeping turn, where you just go off into a big arc to the side, a banking turn means you'll pitch down and sort of twist the chopper in the direction you're going. This is faster and less predictable. The only time you wouldn't want to use a banking turn, typically, is when you're in a dogfight with another heli, because then that means you just lost the high ground. There is a maneuver in which you utilize a banking turn to get under and behind an enemy heli, but that would have to go in a dogfighting video. Up next we have flying low, and I cannot stress how important it is to be able to fly really low to the ground consistently. Flying low prevents vehicles from locking onto you as you're below radar. Being within 10 meters of the ground, enemy vehicles cannot put air-to-air or ground-to-air missiles on you. The same goes for air radar. If you are within 10 meters of the ground, you will not show up on air radar. Also, flying low limits the amount of enemies that have line of sight on you, because of all the hills, rocks, trees that can block line of sight. Just remember that if you're not crashing occasionally in-game or training, that means you're not pushing your skills enough. You're not pushing yourself to the limit. I crash all the time still because I'm still trying to pull off crazy maneuvers. Only by testing what you're really capable of are you going to improve. Up next, we have some more basic maneuvers to increase your confidence with a helicopter. The most important thing about the helicopter is that it needs to be like an extension of your body. You need to know where every piece of it is. You need to know where the front, sides, wings, tail is. You need to have like a sense for the helicopter. A good way to do this is just to run circles around a building, getting as close as you can to it. This will give you a good understanding of where your nose is. Knowing where your nose is quite important for a lot of maneuvers you're going to be pulling off. It also helps with getting really low to the ground. Once you get good at this, try doing it backwards. Another simple but good way is just fly through the training range and go between trees. It'll give you more sense of where your chopper is and how much space it takes up. Another thing you can do is just go over the building and back down the other side. Try to get as close to the ledge as possible on the up and the down. This is really good for escaping lock-ons, for surprising infantry. It's just generally a good skill to have and, again, helps with getting low to the ground. If you're already feeling pretty confident, you can try something weird like busting open a wall with your nose and then going inside the building, taking a quick park and then backing it out. Weird maneuvers like this aren't really applicable in-game, but what it will do is just increase your confidence with the chopper and allow you to do easier maneuvers with a lot more consistency. A fancy maneuver that's actually very applicable in-game is going under stuff, like going under bridges or going through the buildings in Zavad. I can name a million. But going under stuff like that allows you to escape lock-ons, which is extremely important. Start off with a simple bridge in the test range. I know this sounds counterintuitive, but you have to go under it fast. If you go under it fast, it allows you to tip your nose down as you're going through the entrance, and then tip your tail back as you're going out. And that allows you to go under very low objects. If you go slowly, you're going to have to keep your helicopter level, which increases the amount of space you're going to be taking up. Once you get that down, try going through it sort of sideways. Tilt your helicopter to the left or right, whichever feels better for you, and sort of glide under it. Believe it or not, this actually feels easier once you get the hang of it. And then you can even try backwards, or whatever your heart desires. Earlier I mentioned how I would teach you to negate damage when you crash. Well, that's what I'm doing here. So basically, if your helicopter is going into a crash, you hit something, you turn sideways, whatever it is, you're going to take a mobility hit and probably about 35 damage. However, if you jump out of the chopper right before it hits the ground, there's a very good chance your chopper won't take damage, or it'll take less. Use this whenever you're making a risky play, risky maneuver, whenever you need it, but it's very effective, and you can just jump right back in the chopper and fly away without a mobility hit. Next, I'm going to talk about how to engage infantry, and I'm talking about engaging in the most efficient way possible without dying. So, I believe there's a balance between speed, mobility, accuracy, and distance. So here, I'm really far away from the target, and I'm not really maneuvering my chopper at all. Reason being, I'm far enough away that if I see a small RPG coming my way, I can dodge it, no biggie. So, I focus on my accuracy, and I tap fire the enemies down from a distance. As I move closer, I start to get a little more mobile. I don't want to get hit by something. So I'm starting to strafe side to side and balance my accuracy with my mobility. Then once I get up really close, I'm sort of foregoing my accuracy for mobility. Since I'm so close, I have to keep extremely mobile to not get hit. And as you see there, I backed off to sort of get back to mid-range. No matter how mobile you are, if you're that close to infantry, you're gonna get smawed, eventually. So, since I'm mid-range, I'm just keeping a nice balance between accuracy and mobility and taking down the targets. Quick little tip, this isn't the most efficient mode of training, but it is pretty fun. If you go over here, there's barrels you can launch in the air and snipe them out of the sky. Moving forward, a really important thing for you to learn is how to solo tanks, LAVs, and attack boats. This is really important on maps like Flood Zone and Sunken Dragon and whatnot. So going over here, I'm going to set myself up on this LAV. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give him a lock. and I want to hold the lock for a second so he's aware that he's being locked. Then I launch the missile, and immediately switch my cannons so the missile loses its lock. However, that LAV heard a missile coming in, so he'll pop his APS. Once the APS is gone, you relock, the missile comes in, hits him, then you launch your other missile and hit him for 60 immediately. Then you just switch to your passenger seat and SMAW him twice or RPG him twice, and he's done for. And that's how to take down a full health LAV, tank, attack boat with APS. So talking about killing choppers really quick, attack helicopter and scout helicopters, you can kill them in one clip. Just hold down your trigger, and if you're accurate enough, you'll take them down. Transport helicopters, however, take more than a clip. So what you want to do is you want to use a burst method, so your miniguns don't overheat. You're going to want to hold down the trigger for 2 or 3 seconds, release it for half a second, and then you can go back to holding it. Now chances are these helicopters aren't going to be on the ground. So a good way to practice is the UAVs on the test range. Go ahead, go up in the sky, lock down an LAV. Keep your chopper stationary until you practice enough where you can just take one down with perfect accuracy. Once you do that, go ahead, go to another LAV, and start swinging your chopper side to side, strafe as you shoot. You want to keep your accuracy as you're strafing. If you're strafing, it's going to make it a lot harder for enemy choppers to hit you, but you can hit them. Just keep on practicing this and it'll make you so much better. Up next, we got a hypothetical stinger situation. Let's say we got guys in this building. How am I going to deal with that? Well, let's say the stinger guys are here and here. Alrighty. Let's say I'm being gate kept over here by this rock. Well, what am I going to do? I'm going to peek up, try to see him. The problem is from this angle, it's pretty hard to shoot him. Maybe I could get a lucky shot off, but even if I'm tap firing, the worst I can do is probably just scare him. So I'm going to use the terrain to my advantage. I'm going to use the rocks, rotate around, and get behind some hard cover. This concrete block will allow me to get unspotted. Once I get unspotted, I can rise up. The unspot will give me an extra half second to push them. Once I push them, I pre-ECM because I can't risk getting hit by a stinger, then I just take them both out. Then, once I do that, I don't fly away. Since I don't have ECM, I'm going to stay around the building so I can use the building as cover. If I fly away before my ECM's up, I could just get stingered from the rear. Once my ECM is up, then I'm good to fly away. Up next, we're going to talk about how to locate and eliminate stinger users on the ground. Sometimes, especially on some maps, they can be really hard to see. Unfortunately, to do this, you do have to bait out a stinger shot. When you bait out the stinger shot, you'll be able to see exactly where they are. However, stingers sometimes do go through ECM. The most reliable way to have ECM block a stinger is to be moving, side to side, front and back, changing altitude. When you pop ECM to block a stinger, or any lock-on for that matter, you have to be moving fast. If you're standing still or your chopper's going really slow, there's a very good chance it'll hit. In all honesty, killing a stinger user is that simple though. Just wait until they shoot, pop ECM, keep moving so the stinger doesn't hit, and take him out. Up next, how to deal with the AA. To quote X8 Reapers, you don't. Generally, as a scout helicopter pilot, do not deal with the AA. You're just going to lose the fight. Even if they're a bad AA user, they'll still win. The only time you will ever contest an AA is if it's distracted by a tank, by a bunch of infantry, by another air vehicle, and it's already taken damage, and you know that for a fact. Even then, make sure you're laser guiding them from a distance where you have easy cover. Here you see me just go behind a rock, peek up, laser guide, and pop back down. AAs can shred you in an instant, and the best way to play around it is just to avoid it. If it's on the east side of the map, stay on the west, and so forth. The one single thing that kills inexperienced chopper pilots more than anything else is overcommitting. You shoot at an infantry, you get a couple hit markers, he doesn't die, you want to kill him. And you push him, and you keep on pushing him, and you don't give up. And then you get smawed, you get stingered, you crash into something, you die. Do not overcommit. If you miss some shots and you don't kill somebody, back off, reset, and come back for them or somebody else. One kill is not worth you losing your chopper and having a respawn. It's not worth it. Do not overcommit. When in doubt, reset. So now I want to talk about shooting while you're strafing and shooting on the roll. And what I mean by the roll is when you change direction when you're strafing. You strafe left, you change direction, you tilt your helicopter to the right and strafe right. That moment when you tilt is the roll. If you want to balance your movement, your mobility, and your accuracy in the best way, shoot when you're rolling. The only time you should be shooting when you're strafing is when you're really up close and personal and you can't take a slow roll. You gotta be super mobile. Other than that, shoot on the roll. It is the best way to stay mobile while retaining accuracy. Alright, so up next I'm going to talk about avoiding TV missiles and UCAVs. And also tow missiles, but you're going to have to be on your game. Tow missiles are much harder to see. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and pretend that this UAV is a TV missile. If it's coming at me, I'm not going to dodge right away. TV missiles, UCAVs, and sort of tows have a slow turn rate. What you want to do is wait until it gets close to you, then make a sudden movement. If you wait until it gets close enough to you, it's not going to be able to match your movement and you're going to dodge it easily. For the very last thing, I just got like a funky little trick. It's not really too useful, but it's a cool flex. If you tilt your helicopter to the left or right in a certain way, you can actually jump on top of it and repair it. So, if you don't want to land, you could pull this little trick and impress your friends. So yeah, that's about it. I hope I could help and maybe consider subscribing. I'm definitely going to be releasing some more tutorials for jets, attack helicopters in the future. Let me know what you want to see. But as for now, that'll be all. I'll catch you guys later. Have a good one.